Uh, Very good afternoon. And yeah, my name is Sarvanand, and the topic for my presentation today is open source systems. What I'm trying to do today is going to be something of which I have done on the research and the practices and the learnings that we can take out of open source systems. Now, open source systems. Can anyone have a wild guess what open source systems are? Or what is open source, just to begin with?
Sort of anything developed by a community of people.
Ah, perfect. Someone else?
It's free.
Pardon me?
It's free.
It's free. Perfect. I'll just write those things. Common interest or community is what I wrote here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's free. Perfect. Something else?
Involves group. Involves community or groups.
Yes, okay. Community. I read community. Okay, community.
Anyone?
It's alterable.
It's
Alterable.
It's alternate.
Yeah.
Alternate. Okay. Personalized. Okay. What does it Akshay? Personalized. Okay. Customized. Personalized. Anything else? Parit?
From the name suggests, I would say you can see the source code. So.
Okay. Yeah. Obviously, yes. You can see the source code because it's free. You get the source code. Okay. Now, before I start, to know what's going on, what's going to happen in the presentation is the agenda. What is open source systems? What is open source? The innovations and with open source, the business aspect of open source, and open source as a technology, and a case study which I've handed out to just imply all these, how you can imply or how open source can be employed in the real case scenario. And yeah, then the conclusion is what we can get. As I said, as we had in the discussion, open source. Open source can be described as a common or a common where certain types of development takes place in an open and the artifacts are available in general use. It perfectly says, as all you said now, all you guys said, it has to have common people or communities, having communities. It can have it should have a particular need, and the artifacts are available for general use, which makes it like it's free and you have a source code for it. So that is what open source is all about. One, the most important thing in an open source is about the community. Everyone knows about it. It's free and you can use it whatever you want it. You don't have a general. It's under the General License Act and you don't have to pay for it. But the most important thing for an organization to have an open source is to have a community. How was this actually started? Was with generating communities or with people having the same kind of vision or same kind of interest. And that's how a community is formed. As in, take for instance any community which is formed on the internet or any community which is formed in universities. You have an Indian community, you have an Indian or you have a Chinese community. Yeah, what do they have is common, nationality, which is common. Now in technology what happens is people who have the common thinking or common requirement or a common need come together in a form and make a community. And that's how you can form an open source community. Now, there might be, you cannot say, it's open source is not simply a resource, but it is a viable business strategy. Now, these things which the common communities were formed, they thought that this can be, this is a viable business strategy and can be implicated for business use. And that's how it became, a community became a business strategy. Now some of the companies who have based their business on open source are GE General Electronics, Sun Microsystems, HP, CGI, Oracle. Now these are the companies which have really which do softwares for open source. So and have their business on open source. Now when how can you create innovation? Now, innovation is a word which I started hearing a lot when I came to the second semester. First semester, no one talked about innovation. But now, every professor talks about innovation. And now I understand why innovation is important, because for every business, innovation is very important. Now, how does any business or any organization move ahead of some other organization or get a higher percentage on their market share? Is with innovation. Innovation and the time they get inside the market, and what can they innovate at the proper time so that it can be beneficial for their business. So innovation, open source is a very good boon for innovation, because as I said, it is people who have common interest, particular need, and it is free. Now what happens in relations with innovations and open source is, because it's free, you have your community which you have formed. You can take decisions whenever you want to. So each and every organization, if it's an open source organization or an organization which is based on open source, they can find a particular need, or they know their particular need and work on the particular need, because it's open source and everyone is working on it together. So it becomes easier for organizations like these to come inside the market and to have an upper hand with the other players. Now, so it's most important thing to work is to understand the culture and the customs of the open source, which is most important, because when communities are in play, the most important thing is customs and cultures which are formed in that community. So every community has their own custom and has their own particular need. So if one has to work with an open source, then it is important to know that community more. And it's also important to organize the actual findings in these are open source to determine whether the sense to make use of an open source systems. Now, open source cannot always be useful for all organizations. Just because it is free, you can't just take it up and get an open source software and get using it for an organization. You have to find a particular need which is very important for the organization. Now, is it particularly needing, or is that the organization can't make funds, or those kind of functionalities are not available in your proprietary softwares? Are the topics where you can find out that you can get into open source. Now, some of the questions that I thought of when I thought of open source. Can you guys come out with any questions or to be asked on now?
Is it secure to use open source systems? Is it safe to implement those?
Okay.
Safety issues as well.
Okay. Okay. Anything else?
Who controls the open source system?
Yeah, that's a good question. Who controls? Okay.
Should it be free?
One at a time.
Should it be free?
Should it be free? It is free.
Should it be Should it be free? I mean,
but that is about open source. It is free, because why is they're done with people who have the common interest, okay, and who are making it so that everyone else can come together. That was one of my questions, but I will come to what you mean to some.
How do they get profits?
How do they get profits? Yes, that's again the same thing. It's the free, or you can say why free. Yeah, is that something?
What about the support of your solution you use?
Pardon me?
Yeah, if you have any problems with the software.
Support.
Yeah,
You're talking
support.
about support. Okay. What kind of support?
Yeah, tools
Yeah.
you can acquire if you have a problem with.
Okay, cool. Any more questions? Okay, cool. Now, I will answer these questions as well as some questions that I thought about when I thought about open source. Actually thought, why would anyone work for free? Right? The community is made, but why would anyone work for free? Where does these ideas actually come from?